Hey guys, Harrison One back at it once again with a brand new video for you, and welcome to what's quickly become like my yearly tradition on this channel. Normally it was once. I think I've actually done two of these this year. I think I just did one at random one time with Fernando Alonso, I think it was, earlier in the year, where I just felt like doing the 100% race, live commentated, and just did it. They tend to put in good views as well, so I thought, why not do another one to round off the year? Because by the time I upload this, it will be a year to the day since my first one of these, which was doing Sebastian Vettel in F1 2013. I think that was around Abu Dhabi, if I remember correctly. Then I did Fernando Alonso around Canada, and I'm going to do Lewis Hamilton. I think it's only fair if I use the third member of what I like to call the Elite Three in Formula One, the Holy Trinity of F1 drivers, by having Lewis Hamilton thrown in there for the last one. And this was going to be around Austria, the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. Quick setup run through. Kind of bog standard, really. Right. Starting from the back. I guess you could call this a glorified Hamilton challenge more than anything else. Yeah. I'm just going to use this video just to talk, you know. I haven't really got anything planned. I'm just going to give a few thoughts here on there on the season, me, YouTube in general. Just going to wing it, so to speak. I think that's what I do best, to be honest, rather than I could take notes and whatnot. That's just boring. So yeah, 71 laps. Let's do this. I like Austria, so this should be quite a fun ride. Way fast and shorting off the line there. Right up towards Jules Bianchi. Whoa, bit of a nudge there. I was going very slowly through this first corner, because that's F1 2014 eye there for you. I would actually like to drive one of these things at more than 20 miles an hour. That would be nice. Ooh, this is actually quite fast in a straight line. Whoa. Well, that's both Force Indias dispatched. So what, lap 16 for our first stop, roughly. So 16 laps on the options. Oh god, I'm very wide through there. Not ideal. But yeah, let's talk about me. You know, we're coming towards the end of 2014 very quickly. By the time you're watching this, it could well be the start of 2015. So, you know, we've probably already broken out the Bucks fizz and started celebrating Happy New Year for you folks and whatnot. So let's get that out of the way. Happy birthday! Holy shit! You can tell I'm tired, can't you? Been a very busy second half of the year for me, of university starting up again and whatnot, and I mean, if I had to have a New Year's resolution going into 2015, it would definitely be just to be able to be more consistent in terms of uploads. Because this year, I'd often leave it 4 or 5 days between videos, and that's a little bit unfair. And I know you guys obviously want more of me, and you know, I didn't really have any major delays like last year, for instance. We passed Macedania inside there. Like last year, for example, where, you know, I had a broken laptop and I was out for 6 weeks, and I didn't really have that this year. And despite that, during like the last third of the year, I'd spend a lot of time, you know, just working on other things like my blog, my website, my podcast series now, which is now out, which I'm actually going to post a full episode of on here very soon. Just if you guys if you've not checked out the website yet, not checked out the podcast yet, it gives you a free chance to listen. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. I'll have that up in the next few days, roughly. But let's just say it's been a you know, a bumpy year for me, basically, but mostly positive, and I'm very happy with the way things have gone for me overall this year, to be honest. Whoa, Magnussen, whoa! Holy shit, Magnussen was slow through there. But, yeah, like, basically, it's been a very busy year for me, and I've had a lot of cool shit happen to me. I mean, I started the year still working for Zone 1 Radio, and, you know, as a work experience outpost, and I got to go to the Zoom charity auction, which was very, very cool. I got to, you know, grace the red carpet, which something I never thought I would see myself doing. You know, wear flat cap, suit, and Converses. Like, I wasn't sure it was the best fashion look, but I liked it. You know, got to meet Damon Hill, got to meet Christian Horner, you know, being obviously a Red Bull fan, and, you know, well, mostly a Red Bull fan, and, you know, getting to meet Christian Horner, you know, he's a very nice guy, very charming. Funnily enough, because he was with his then wife at the time, and now he's hooked up with Jerry Halliwell, and it's like, well, that was a fast rebound, Christian. To come up towards Fernando Alonso now, the two Ferraris. I'm going to pull an ex-Matty G here from AOR Season 7. They're going 4 wide into the corner. That went full Hamilton in Germany there for a minute. But, yeah, going to the Zoom charity auction was an amazing experience. A lot of cool guys down there. I was too shy to say hi to Claire Williams as well. Claire Williams was down there, the team principal for Williams. She was down there, you know, looking very glamorous. I think with her boyfriend, I think it was. You know, looking very, very nice. Bernie, I met Bernie Eccleston, which I thought, that's something I thought I'd see myself doing. Like, you can just... There is definitely an aura around Bernie. I promise you that. Like, holy shit. Like, that aura is probably money, mind you. But, you know, it was like, he really is that short as well, by the way. He's a solid 5'0", that man. You know, so yeah, he was looking, you know, very sharp. He actually left early, funnily enough. Because it was him, his daughter Tamara, you know, the socialite one. I think her husband, basically. And I think some friend of the family were all rolled up together, and they were all out, like, after Bernie's lot had gone. And Bernie, because he had such an enormous ego boost, he couldn't take the fact his lot was only going to go for about 500 quid, so he bumped it up to, like, he bought his own photo, basically. For $2,000. It was like one of the highest selling lots on the day. I think the highest selling one was Fernando Alonso's selfie took on the Monza podium from last year. Fetched about $4,000. And I saw the celebrity chef James Martin was down there as well. James Martin, the famous TV cookery chef you might see I think it's on Saturday Kitchen, I think it's called, or something like that. He was down there too. So yeah, that was a very cool moment. I went to the Formula E global launch, which was pretty neat as well. Formula E's global launch, which was in London as well. Again, it was as part of Zone 1 Radio to come down there as a member of the press, which was very cool. I took all the photos for it. I think I still got my mate's camera from that event, funnily enough. But you know, sort of all the cars were down there. Some of the drivers were down there. I had about 14 of the drivers down there for it. Jarno Trulli was down there. Michaela Cerruti. Catherine Legg was down there. And he went down the outside of Rosberg in a turn 5. That's a nice pass. That's a nice pass. Woo! Sam Bird was down there. I couldn't get any time to get any interviews in because, I mean, I was just so busy. Like, it was like they were flocked. I actually met pole positions Rosanna Tennant down there as well, who was looking very glamorous. And that woman is tall. She's a good 5'10". Like, she's massively tall. Honestly, it's like, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'2" myself, so it's like I'm not exactly short or anything, but like, holy shit. Very nice woman, though. Very nice woman. But she was down there, and, you know, yeah, it was just kind of cool. Like, you know, like, it was, for me, who wants to be an aspiring journalist, it was nice to see that preview of, you know, things that could happen one day, you know? And having these kind of opportunities, I've been very, very fortunate, so to speak. I mean, then I had the Google Hangout with Felipe Massa, which I thought was just amazing. And you know, me smiling like a Cheshire Cat all day long with Felipe Massa there, and he's very, very polite as well. I said hi, Andre, and I'm like, like I'm a 22-year-old grown-ass man, and like I'm giggling when Felipe Massa says hi to me. Like I actually fanboyed a little bit there, no doubt about it. Just a very, very charming bloke, and you know, definitely enjoyed his presence. So that was cool. And I visited Codemasters this year as well for Grid Auto Sports coverage. Shame the game ended up being a bit of a bust, but yeah, well, it's a shame because it's actually not a bad racing game at all, really. Just not particularly great in that context, and just kind of felt like we're lagging behind a little bit with next-gen consoles already around, and we're going back to our 360s to play Autosport. It's a shame because I think it's definitely a strong game, almost as good as the original, to be honest with you, but people just didn't bite on it and got bored very quickly of it, which I find, you know, a little bit concerned, but it happens, I guess. But I went down to Codemasters, visited the studio, visited the development house, tested the game out, obviously had a huge boost in subs from that, so everybody who subscribed as a result of Grid Autosport, thank you, you know, thank you if you stuck around, you know, that means a lot. Had a huge amount, I think over 100,000 views in total as a result of, you know, as a result of all of that. So, you know, very grateful for that as well. And, you know, obviously we hit 5K this year as well, 5,000 subscribers, and that was, I believe that was in September we hit that. It's a shame we've not really grown very much since then. Again, I can understand why. I've not been making as many videos as I normally would like to. Again, university. It's my final year of uni for those who don't know already, and you know, it's very, very hard. Yeah, it's a tough schedule. It really is, and you know, the thing about uni is you never think it's a lot of work until you actually start doing it, and then you realise like, holy shit, I've got to get my act together here now, and it's like, you know, you underestimate it. I think that's the uni thing. You know, you think you're invincible as a student, and it turns out you're not really. But, you know, you just got to make the most of it, I suppose. Also, this area was very easy around here, wasn't it? Already comfortably in the lead now. But, you know, from that aspect, it's been a very good year for me. And I've had a couple of, you know, downsides as well. Obviously, you might remember from my online racer video in January that my auntie suffered a brain tumour. You know, they had to remove it, but she didn't, you know, she hasn't come off it well, so to speak, and, you know, I broke up with my girlfriend, which wasn't a good idea either, you know, and a lot of Ask FM abuse as well, you know, it's a negative point of the year, but I've also come to the realisation that when you put yourself out there as an internet personality and you're very opinionated, and I always have been, I've made no bones about trying to hide that. That's just the kind of person I am. You know, I like to think I'm educated when it comes to a lot of things, and I'm confident enough to speak about a lot of things. So, you know, I was a little bit disappointed that happened, but you know, the down points are minor, and you know, it's one of those things where now for me, when it comes to the F1 community and the context of it all, most of us are all bored of F1 2014 anyway. You know, we're already thinking about next gen and next year and 2015, which are many saying is a make or break game for Codemasters. I'm not sure whether that'll be a thing, or whether people will actually stop buying it, because it's a bold decision not to buy the game. I was considering not buying it, but I felt like I was obligated to my subscribers to buy it. And I know you guys are incredibly understanding and very, very supportive no matter what I do, and I'm always so grateful for that I can actually go out there and play other games, and you guys don't have a problem with it, you know, for the most part. And the views have been pretty healthy on some of those videos as well, so, you know, I'm very proud of that, and the fact that, you know, I have that kind of leverage is amazing, and I'm, you know, over the moon that I can do that. Ooh, nice lap. But at the same time, it's also like, well, like, what next? You know? And, you know, I've not really set I know a lot of YouTubers have set themselves goals for next year. I haven't, and the reason why is just because my channel is not the kind of channel to blow up. My channel is not specifically designed where it's going to get, like, a ridiculous amount of views or subscribers in a month. I'm not a Ben. I'm not an Arav. I'm not a Gillen. I'm not a Zaffro. I'm not that kind of YouTuber. I'm different. I'm more informative. I'm more opinionated. I'm not a guy that has gameplay as the forefront. I have it more as a secondary factor and as a platform for me. And, you know, that's something I take a lot of pride in. I like the fact I do things differently. And, you know, it may not be the most successful method, but I'm very proud of the content I'm able to put out, you know, and you guys seem to like it as well. And I had so many amazing messages of support this year. And, you know, the people that are watching, I know, are just fantastic people, and I adore each and every one of you, so thank you for that. My main aim for 2015 is just to have fun again, you know? There was a lot of times in 2014 where I didn't feel like I was enjoying what I was doing, and I didn't feel like I was enjoying my content, and, you know, that's a key factor when it comes to these things. If you're not enjoying what you're doing on YouTube, you probably shouldn't be making videos. Because, like, if you're bored while playing a game and you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're going to look like you don't enjoy what you're doing. And for me, as a guy who prefers live commentary over, you know, pre-recorded content and commentated coverage, like, you know, like an Arav or a Ben does, for example, you know, for me, it's much harder to hide that, you know? Like, when I was playing Autosport, I wasn't excited for a lot of that game, and you guys could tell. And, you know, same Gran Turismo 6. I was, like, recording episodes at 4 in the morning because I felt like I had to, rather than I wanted to. Big difference there, you know? So, you know, I just want to have fun again while doing this and be able to play more than one game. Cause I don't want to rely on Cody's anymore, to be honest with you, because I've lost faith in the franchise. You know, I really am hoping 2015 is the big step forward the franchise needs, because I've said before, I've said it in my full review of this game, that, you know, this game feels like a placeholder. It genuinely does. It feels like it was there just to make up the numbers until 2015's good and ready. And, you know, the shame was the pure gameplay of this game is actually quite solid. It plays pretty well, and I enjoy it. You know, in small doses, like I do with a lot of video games. But as an overall package, it's the weakest that Cody's has put out to date. And I'm very disappointed, you know, after five consecutive games, this is the end game here. I know it's a different franchise now because the cars are fundamentally different, but, and you know what, to be fair, I think they've done the cars pretty well, to be honest with you, for the most part. There's a few minor details here and there that could be better, but I think they could have done certain aspects a lot better as well and done them more justice. And, you know, the netcode still has problems, and, you know, that's not ideal, and, you know, scenario mode is still kind of flat and kind of boring, and it doesn't really work. And, you know, as an overall package, it's, you know, it's you're actually getting less on the table than we were doing with last year's game, which, you know, should not be a thing at all. It should never be in a situation where you're getting less content than the previous game. And then expected to pay full price for it. Like, if they came out with this game at maybe 30 quid rather than 40, I think people would have been a lot more understanding of the fact, well, it'll basically be Cody's way of saying, well, look, like, we made this game because we kind of feel like we have to, so, you know, here's 30 quid, do you mind doing us a favour and just giving us a little bit of money till next year rolls around, and we can give you a proper game? You know, that would have been nice, but, you know, needs must. It's December now, you know, rather than October. And, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm ranting about it too much, because, trust me, other YouTubers have done that more than enough in spades, and the hidden, you know, the hidden performance attributes of using a wheel as to using a pad. It's just kind of dumb as well, and so on and so forth. You know, the more you talk about it, the more problems you end up talking about, so yada yada yada. But yeah, I just want to say thanks everybody for a great year. You guys are the best. Yeah, you really are. And, like I said, I love you all very much indeed. And, you know, I honestly, I can't lie. I am jealous of those guys like Matty and Ben and you know, and Arav, who have these amazing subscriber bases. You know, their channels are incredibly healthy. They're getting 10,000-15,000 views a video, and I'm getting like 800 on a good day. And, you know, I'm not sure where to take my channel from here, but well, you know, I feel like I want to have some fun with YouTube instead of just, you know, making the same stuff over and over again. and hopefully next year we'll do that. And you know, as much as, you know, this year the F1 games have been kind of mediocre, at the same time I've expanded so much more as a person, and I'm very proud of that. I can say that I can, you know, make videos, I can write, and I can get on the radio or get on a podcast and talk. And you know, I'm very comfortable in that, and I think you guys appreciate that as well. I think the guys that do follow me on Twitter or follow me on social media and, you know, follow my website and whatnot, you realise you're getting a lot out of me. You're like, it may not be videos, but once you throw in the blogs and the podcasts, I think I'm doing alright, you know. And again, the website is something I've been very proud of this year as well. I've finally got a place to call my own, and I can put all my content on there, you know, my blog, or, you know, my podcast, all that stuff. The podcast is coming to iTunes very soon, by the way, as well, which should be great. But, you know, yeah, just overall, also, I've got to say a huge thank you to Stephanie Hunter, who, you know, made the website for me. You may know her as a Steph, S-A-T-E-F on Twitter. Just a very good friend, and incredibly patient, and just one of the, you know, sweetest people I've ever met ever, and just a fantastic human being, and, you know, she's so helpful, and she done an amazing job with the site, and I'm very proud of it, and, you know, people love it, and I genuinely do, and, you know, that makes me feel very happy about it. So if you guys are on there regularly, you know, I salute you guys. If you haven't, why the hell haven't you been? Harrison101.com, check it out, it's fantastic, in my opinion at least, even though it's kind of a biased opinion, but still. I know I'm meant to be in the pits, but I'm still lapping really well, so why not keep going, you know? But, you know, that was great. The F1 season itself has come and gone. It doesn't, like, it feels like it's been a lot longer than 8 months, you know? Like Australia back in March feels so long ago. It feels like a lot more than 8 months. I know how people say that time flies these days, but, you know, maybe it really does. As a Sebastian Vettel fan, it's been kind of a year to forget for my boy. You know, he's had a lot of people, I think he's had a lot of unfair criticism this year, like, oh, he's been exposed because Ricciardo's had a really good year. Like, no. Like, every top driver has lost out to a teammate in their careers. Like, Fernando lost out to Lewis, a rookie Lewis in 2007, and people don't talk about that very much, and Alonso and Hamilton haven't really had top quality teammates very much, and, you know, the obvious case of Hamilton, you know, was when he beat Alonso in 07, but then lost out in the course of their McLaren time to Jenson Button. So everyone struggled to a teammate once in a while, and yeah, this is the first real mediocre year that Vettel's had in his 8-year career in F1. So, you know, I will take the fact that you know, things haven't been, you know, quite so splendid this year, because it was bound to happen. Formula 1 doesn't like dominance, and, you know, when that happens, I like to change the rules around a little bit. Get out of the way, Gutierrez, you turd. But you know, it's one of those things where you just you know, you kind of embrace our things, and, you know, Ricciardo, I have a lot of respect for Ricciardo, had a brilliant season, you know, like a real breath of fresh air, I'd say, to the top class in Formula 1 this year, and, you know, we've had the same personalities at the top of the tree for a little while now. You know, Rosberg isn't exactly the most captivating guy in the world, and, you know, Hamilton is so polarising when it comes to the outside image that he has. Sometimes he's being the humble, nice boy from Stevenage. Other time he's been an obnoxious twat, but, you know, that's Hamilton for you. You never quite know what you're going to get with him, really. Alonso, I think, is very shrewd when it comes to these things. I think he's very shrewd when it comes to these things, and how he deals with the media, and, you know, he straight up lies to people as well. So I've never really been a massive fan of the top tier in F1 for a while when it comes to personalities, because, you know, Raikkonen has about as much personality as a tin of sardines. But, you know, Ricciardo is just this happy-go-lucky, smiling, ridiculously nice guy, and, you know, he's like, I've always said the Aussie culture is probably the one that's the nearest to ours, even though this is the kind of even more laid back than we are. So, you know, for that to be a thing, like, having another top tier guy like Ricciardo, who is just You know, happy, go lucky, smiley, humble, just a nice dude. You know, that's really cool to see. You know, I wish you had more guys like that in the top, you know. F1 has a reputation of being stuffy and having a lack of personalities, and, you know, Ricciardo is a great personality, and, you know, that's awesome. We need more of that. But it ended that, you know, I'm now driving the car of a double world champion, and, you know, Lewis, you know, he absolutely deserved it. You know, out of the two Mercedes drivers, as Nico Rosberg so, you know, graciously put it, after Abu Dhabi, the best man won, and, you know, I can't disagree with that. I think Hamilton was the better driver this year. You know, when you win 11 races in a year, you should be winning the championship, and that's absolutely what Hamilton did. And it's a shame the margin of victory looks so big in the end. Like I said before, 67 points is completely unfair on Nico, because it looks like he got destroyed when you know, he lost 50 on the final race, obviously because of what happened in Abu Dhabi, and, you know, it makes the gap look bigger than what it actually was. And, you know, I think 67 points is a very harsh reflection on Nico. He did a good job, and I know a lot of people really didn't think he was going to be the guy this year. So, you know, for that to be a thing annoys me, so to speak. Well, what kind of lap times are we doing around here? We're still doing 112s on, like, after 21 laps. Might do a one-stop around here. Turn the fuel down a little bit as well while we're at it. Might as well. You know, I know a lot of people didn't give Nico a prayer this season. And you know what? Rosberg, as Ryan King put it in my podcast, said it himself, like, Rosberg was Hulkenberg before Hulkenberg's reputation became a thing. Another German guy who did a really good job in mid-car teams. You know, he stuck it out at Mercedes for a long time while dealing with Michael Schumacher, and how the team kind of bent over for Schumi to a degree, while Rosberg was kind of missing out. And when Mercedes finally got good, it's like they cashed in his loyalty checks, and it turned out, you know, he reaped the rewards. You know, he now has, I think, what was it now? Something like 7 wins to his name in his career now. So, you know, Rosberg's already climbing the ranks in terms of the all-time greats. He may not be a champion yet, but he's going to go down as a solid, you know, maybe top 100 driver ever now. So, props to Nico. You know, he made more of a fight of it than I think many people could have predicted. It's a shame that, you know, he had the lion's share of the bad luck. Well, maybe not lion's share, but losing out on 50 at the end was definitely a harsh indictment. I mean, when it came to that title fight, people were all saying, like, oh, well, what if Hamilton's car breaks down? Because, you know, they were trying to trick themselves to thinking there was an actual title fight at the end. But, essentially, it happened the other way around. It happened to Rosberg's car instead. So, at least no Hamilton fan can ever attack my inbox telling me that Hamilton was unlucky. The F1 gods are in his favour this year, I'd say. You know, good for you, Mercedes. What a team! What an incredible team! 700 points this year in the Constructors' Championship. 700, an all-time record. Even with double points. I mean, it's an outrageous number. It really is. It's something you struggle to wrap your head around sometimes. It's truly incredible, and you know, one of the most dominant and impressive cars I think we've ever seen in F1, and at least since 2004's Ferrari. It was a better car than the 2011 Red Bull, that's for sure. I'd argue that was the strongest Red Bull team we've ever seen, was 2011 when Red Bull was still competitive and you had Sebastian Vettel win 11 races that year. I think that was Red Bull at its absolute best. God, I've still at -1 fuel, got to sort that out later as well. Yeah, we're sliding around a lot now. I think now's the time to call it quits on these tyres. But, you know, It's a shame they were a little bit unreliable, but then again, pretty much the entire field was like that too. Williams and McLaren, I think, were the most reliable teams out there in terms of lack of failures over the course of races. But everyone was a little bit like that, to be fair. No one was perfect this year. Whew. 23 lap stint on those tyres. That was fun. Stretch the hands out a little bit. 3.7 second stop. Nice and safe from the boys there. Went 8 laps longer than it was supposed to. I found that quite funny. Yeah, that was always a thing. I've kind of spoken about Vettel and Red Bull and, you know, Ricciardo kind of stealing the show this year in terms of, whoops, surprises and whatnot. Out of the way, JB. But, yeah, just one of those things I talked about that as well. Williams. Man, nice to see Williams back at the top, huh? I've always said it, like, I think Williams is everybody's second favourite team. I've always had that theory. In the sense of, you know, the plucky, unlucky kind of want to root for because, you know, they have such history behind them, and Sir Frank is a legend in the context of the sport, and, you know, they have the history, the lineage, and they tend to hire nice drivers like Rubens Barrichello and Mark Webber, very popular, likeable dudes, and they have Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa, and again, yeah, a lot of people hopped on the Bottas wagon this year. I can see why. He was 4th in the championship. He had an excellent season. So I can kind of see why they were all like that. But it's just nice to see him back at the top again. You know, 320 points is, I think, their best ever haul in terms of points in a season. Obviously, you know, given the scoring of modern day F1, it's not really a record, so to speak. You know, they didn't get that first win, and I'm kind of gutted because, you know, they could have easily won this very race in real life this season if it wasn't for the fact they kept their cars out probably 1 lap too long, and they got leapfrogged as a result. And like Valtteri Bottas and Felipe Massa just kind of faded away after that in their final stints. And I think Williams were very conservative. I think even they were surprised at the fact that they were so competitive, and as a result, just kind of like, you know, let's just take the 3 and 4 here, and, you know, instead of thinking about it and going, hey, hang on a minute, we can win this race. And I know Mercs were that good as the top running team, but like, why the hell wouldn't you want to go for it in that situation? You know, that was Williams' biggest problem this year. A lot of, you know, botched strategy calls. You know, Felipe Massa in Canada doing an extra stop when he probably didn't need to, and, you know, Bottas in Spain when they didn't respond to Ricciardo's undercut, and he ended up getting the podium in the end, and Bottas ended up finishing 5th behind Sebastian Vettel. You know, they never really looked the same after that, and, you know, losing out to Ricciardo in America when they could have had, again, 3 and 4 in that race as well, ended up being 4 and 5, costing them major points. So, you know, Williams kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times, but a very impressive car, and I know a lot of that is down to Mercedes and switching to their engines, and, you know, obviously having such an incredible power unit this year, and they deserve tremendous praise for that. You know, that's the key reason why I'd say they've been so good. I mean, their aero was already excellent as well. I mean, it's for Mercedes, it's kind of been the culmination of maybe 3 or 4 years of just building this dream team of Paddy Lowe, Toto Wolff, and a lot of guys in there who have been on championship winning teams before, who know F1, and, you know, maybe losing Ross Brawn was just snagging the plan, but at the same time, they've still put together this dream team, you know, ahead of the 2014 rule change, and in F1, if you can nail a rule change, there's no reason why you won't be successful. You know, like, just it's like, again, another Ryan King analogy for you. He said it on my podcast yesterday that if you nail a rule change, you know, it's like if Ross Brawn had a blank check, and that's what they were with Mercedes this year. That's essentially what they were. They were Ross Brawn with a blank check, and they were absolutely dominant. And not just that, it helped out teams like McLaren, and it helped out Force India as well, to a lesser degree. But Williams were the the big gainers. They had 5 points last year. 5 points, and on points alone, their worst ever season. Given that 5 points now is worth less than 5 points back in the last time they had. I think they had Rubens in their team last time they had 5 points. So they've come off arguably their worst ever season in Formula 1. And to become one of the best teams, and I think I'd argue Williams were the second best car throughout most of the second half of the season. Second half of the year, I think Williams were as good, if not a little bit better than Red Bull. Maybe Red Bull were focusing so hard on 2015 already. But no matter which way you look at it, Williams were excellent this year. Valtteri Bottas was kind of like a breakout star in the making, really. He was excellent this season, absolutely excellent. 186 points, I think he scored in the end, 4th in the championship. A clear 4th. I mean, this is ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. 2 guys, arguably the 2 best drivers in Formula 1, or at least 2 of the 3 best drivers in Formula 1. So for that to be a thing, again, incredible achievement for a guy who's only in his 2nd season, has driven less than 40 races. I know Bottas didn't look particularly special last year or anything, but he was a rookie and, kind of unassuming, and the car was terrible for Williams last year, so I can kind of see why. It's why having a breakout star of the year award is quite difficult, because, you're only as good as your car more often than not, and we'll cover to that in our next up with Ferrari, and Ferrari had a dreadful friggin' season by their standards. There's an argument to be made, as Chilton stupidly parks his car on the apex and I'm trying to let me through. But there's an argument to be made there that, for all intents and purposes, Ferrari should have been right up there. They were considered the team to beat at the end of last year, because they thought Ferrari was going to build this amazing engine and whatnot, and they thought that they looked good in testing. They looked like they were probably the 2nd best team coming out of the test. And, with Williams as maybe the dark horse team coming out of testing, while Merckx, flexed their muscles, really, and were running freaking quali sims in there during their testing period. But Ferrari looked good in testing, and they looked like they had a solid team. They had arguably the best team in Formula 1 going in. Like, Fernando Alonso, many consider as the best driver in the world, and that's probably a very, very fair and valid criticism to make. And on top of that, Kimi Räikkönen, who, despite the fact he kind of gave up the second half of last year, was was proved he was still just as good as he ever was by having this big redemption comeback year in 2012 and 2013. He was very good with that Lotus when Lotus were good. So they looked like they had a really good team underneath them, and it just didn't work this year. I was stunned at how much it didn't work. Alonso did the best he could, ended up finishing, I think 6th is his worst year in Formula 1 since 2008, for Alonso in the championship. Like, a guy of Alonso's quality shouldn't be 6th in the championship, ever. And Ferrari were just piss poor. Like, Ferrari only ended up like 30 points ahead of McLaren, who probably were a little bit stronger than them in like the last maybe 5 or 6 races of that season. McLaren, I think, leapfrogged them towards the end, and Ferrari's reliability actually went down as the year went on, with Alonso having back-to-back electrical failures in Monza and I think Japan. And Alonso had some great fights this year. He had some great fights with guys like Ricciardo in Germany, Vettel in Silverstone, and Raikkonen in Brazil, Button in America. But just, not even he could salvage much out of that pretty poor Ferrari. Like, people say that Ferrari in 2012 and 13 were bad. Don't make me laugh. Nothing compared to this lot. Like, holy crap. Like, this year, like, way, way worse. Like, this year's Ferrari wasn't even close. Like, holy crap. Just a terrible freaking car. For all intents and purposes. And you know what? A guy like Fernando deserves better. Alonso hasn't probably been in the best car in F1 since maybe 2012. 2012's Ferrari was nowhere near as bad as people like to make out it is. But Raikkonen, I'd argue Raikkonen had the worst season of any driver in Formula 1, pound for pound. Like, I say this because people were expecting Ericsson to be shit. People were expecting Jules Bianchi and Max Chilton, you know, to be mediocre because of the cars they're in. Did anybody expect Raikkonen to be that thoroughly decimated by Alonso as a teammate? Like, I know people give Vettel a hard time for being beaten by Ricciardo handily, but that was nowhere near as much as, like, Raikkonen, like, was, like, over 100 points off of Alonso. Over 100. Like, my brother was, like, super adamant this year that, like, Raikkonen was going to beat Alonso in the teammate battle. And I'm like, that's funny. I never thought that, by the way. I thought Alonso was always going to beat Raikkonen, but not by that kind of margin. Holy shit. Just stunned at that one. Yeah, that one caught me out by surprise. But Raikkonen, a driver of Raikkonen's quality shouldn't be having 55 points for a season. Raikkonen was trash this year. I think I got my actual season review coming up on my website, and I think I've given Raikkonen a lower score than any other driver. I'm pretty sure on that. But, you know, Ferrari are completely clearing out the decks now, and I've already spoken about that a lot in my Trade TV episode about that. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next year and seeing whether, you know, whether Vettel or Raikkonen can show something next year to, you know, really improve. I don't think it will, because I think Ferrari's going to be completely restructuring next year and starting over, which, you know, will be fun to see, I guess. You know, we'll see what they can do. So let's move down a little bit further. So let's go to McLaren. McLaren started the year really well. You know, they had the double podium in Australia. Button came from like 11th to 3rd, and, you know, Magnussen had the incredible debut race of, you know, qualifying, I think, in 3rd or something like that, and then going on to finish in 2nd after Ricciardo's disqualification. Ended up finishing 2nd in his very first race, and, you know, people were thinking, oh, K-Mag's going to be the future, and then, you know, ends up being kind of mediocre the rest of the year. Like, he wasn't bad. For me, Magnussen was above average this year. I expected a little bit more out of what he got. I think the second half of the year was a more accurate reflection on what Magnussen was actually capable of. But what I like about Magnussen is that he's ballsy. He's got very good qualifying pace. I think he out-qualified Button over the course of the season, which was a bit of a surprise. And just overall, I think he's not afraid to get stuck in with guys like Fernando Alonso, and you know, he was a bit close to the mark with Bottas in Monza and whatnot. But you know, he showed real ballsiness to take that on, and I thought, you know what, good for him. He's not intimidated by any driver, which is always a plus. But we're lapping 6th place to Bottas now. Holy shit! I don't think we're going to be that quick today. This is on expert difficulty, by the way, not legend, but, you know, we're over half a lap ahead of Sebastian Vettel here in 2nd, which surprises me. Pardon me. But yeah, McLaren, like, Magnussen was okay, so maybe slightly above average, but Jenson Button was fantastic this season. Over 100 points in the 5th best car and 8th in the championship overall. Tremendous effort. You know, JB, I know he's not getting any younger, I know he's 35 in January, but he's still one of the best drivers in Formula 1, quite frankly. And, you know, this season proved that his race pace was superb. Was in the top 5 on 4 of the last 5 races, despite the fact, you know, McLaren weren't up there with the best, but they found some pace towards the end of the season, and Jenson took full advantage. Like, if you give Jenson a decent car, he will always deliver for you. Always. Like, I've rated Button as a driver more since he won his championship in 2009, with his stint and time at McLaren, more than when he actually won the championship in that Brawn GP car in 2009. It's amazing how these things turn out. Does he come towards the halfway point in this race now? But, yeah, you know, JB was excellent, and I'm glad McLaren made the right call and stuck with it, and I'm glad JB was willing to take a pay cut to stick around, because McLaren could be onto something good with Honda, but they might not be. I think in a new team that's rebuilding with a new massive supplier in Honda, I think it makes sense to wait it out and see what happens. And, you know, in that situation, I think you need experience. Because if the car sucks, you know, at least you've got good drivers and you know the car's the problem, you know? Like, if a car sucks and you put guys like a guy like Stoffel Van Dorn or K-Mag in there, like, who do you blame? Is it the driver's fault for not getting the best out of it, or is it the car's fault for being shit? It's a difficult one. But, you know, Kevin will get his chance, I'm sure of it. If not next year, maybe the year after. 2017 or 2016, something like that. Stoffel Van Dorn might have to wait around a little bit longer. I think Stoffel's good enough to be in Formula 1 right now, to be honest with you. I think it's pointless he does another GP2 season, because look, if the only guys who beat Stoffel last year were the two guys that have had 4 years of experience in Formula 1, i.e. Felipe Nasr and Joel Palmer, you know, if you take those two away, Stoffel would be champion this year. So what's the friggin' point of making him do another year in GP2? He's going to win it, and then if he wins it next year, he's going to put McLaren in a painfully difficult spot because, you know, if you're a GP2 champion, you can't take part in the following season. Like, it's screwed with many a guy's career. Look at David Valsecchi, who won the championship in 2012, I think it was, and he ended up just, you know, making the T down at Enstone for Lotus and whatnot. You know, never had any kind of prolific time in Formula 1 as a result of that. You know, even when Raikkonen got hurt, they went to Heikki Kovalainen and gave him a call instead of, you know, actually using your third driver, which is kind of dumb, but what do you know? Whoa, shit, Chilton, what are you doing? Friggin' money bags, fuck. Right. Out of the way, Esteban. That's a good boy. But, you know, McLaren with Alonso and Button, it's a great friggin' team. I really think it is. You know, Alonso, again, I think is the best driver in the world right now. And, you know, Button is nowhere near as far behind as people think he is. I've said it before, I think Button will beat him in the teammate battle next year. I think Button's more used to the team, used to the car. He's probably had a say in its development, more unlikely, because, you know, he's been there for 5 years. Alonso's got to jump back into a new car, another new experience again. He's been outside of the McLaren loop for, what is it now? 8 years, roughly? Yeah, 8 years now. So, you know, I think Button's experience within Woking, I think, will give him the edge on that where that's concerned. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. Where's next? So Force India. Force India were kind of meh this year. I feel a little bit bad for Vijay Mallya in the sense of, like, he's a very vocal guy when it comes to Formula 1. You can tell he clearly loves the sport and he wants it to go in a more financially equal situation. Obviously, he would say that being in charge of Force India, who's been a midfield team forever, essentially, whatnot. But, you know, Force India started out very strong. They had, you know, very good results at the start of the year. Sergio Perez got the podium in Bahrain, and, you know, Hulkenberg was 5th that day. It was the best ever team result for Force India in terms of points scored, and they looked genuinely very strong to start the season, but they ran out of money and got out-developed again. It's happened like 2 years running with Force India where they start strong but they fade mid-season and never were able to make up the difference in the end. I'm meant to be pitting in this lap apparently. So we're basically saying do a 3-stop strategy. I think I can do a 2-stop right here. Tyres still feel good. Basically, I need to get to roughly lap maybe 48, 49 to be able to feasibly make a 2-stop work. Oh hell, I'm up by 50 seconds, who gives a shit? Like, seriously, what am I thinking? Anyway, back to Force India, and, you know, it happened last year too. Like, I remember last year, Paul di Resta came like 4th in Bahrain. People were saying Force India were beating McLaren handily. Then they changed the tyres around after, I think, Canada, after, the pop-in incident at Silverstone. And Force India never looked back from that, in terms of they never looked forward from that. They were always on the back foot after that one. The rest just struggled for a little while, had a really bad run of form mid-season, and, Adrian Sutil, I think, kind of gave up on them, really. Like, Sutil was kind of shit in 2013, really. He got knocked out in Q1 a couple of times, and, he was booted out of that team, and, you think, like, I going into the year, I thought Force India had the third best driver lineup in Formula 1. Like, Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg is a very, very strong team. Like, I'll admit now, though, I think the hype train has derailed on Sergio Perez. I think, like, he's been beaten handily by his teammate again for the second consecutive year. He was beaten handily by JB last year, but I expected that one. I didn't think he'd be so mediocre compared to Hülkenberg. And Hülkenberg, don't get me wrong, Hülkenberg is a fantastic friggin' driver. Should be in a top seat by now. Hülkenberg in the 6th best car this year scored nearly 100 points. 100. And his team is very meh. He was ultra consistent this year, didn't make very many mistakes, and was just excellent, all season long. Nico, again, thoroughly beat Sergio, who I know a lot of people are still really high on, and I'm still sitting here thinking, I think Sergio's too inconsistent to be in Formula 1 properly. I'm putting a lap on Vettel. Wow, that's amazing. But, But just on the whole, you'd think, like, Sergio, like, he's had flashes of brilliance, and he's had that all career now. And this season was another example of that. Had a couple of really good drives, like Austria right here. I think he started 16th and finished in 6th. And, Canada, he could have very well had a podium if it wasn't for that foul up in Canada at the end, which was partially his fault. And he's had moments where you feel like this guy could really be something one day, but a lot of the time he's just mediocre. And, that's a shame. And I don't think Sergio is as good as many people think he is, to be honest with you. And, they still had their best ever points score. I think they had 155 points in total, which is their best ever season, by some distance as well. And I think Hülkenberg was a big reason to that, and, he thoroughly outpointed the rest of the field again, or rest of the midfield guys at least. He had nearly 100. I think Sergio had like 59, I think it was in the end. Something like that. Sergio leaked up a couple of places at the end of the season because of the double points finale in Abu Dhabi, but... Well, Vettel's actually keeping up with me now. But, Just on the whole, I think Force India just kind of met, and they need more to really be challenging McLaren over the course of the year, because McLaren do actually develop quite well, and McLaren are the kind of team where they finish seasons quite strong, and they develop well all season long, rather than many teams who give up and then they develop next year's car better instead. It's not like Red Bull, for example, who are the best in-season developers over the course of a year. Like, Force India just need more money, and they're not going to get that from where they are in 6th at the moment. I thought, like, if Force India was ever going to crack the top 5, you'd think now would have been the year, and it just didn't happen for them again. If it doesn't happen now, is it ever going to be a thing? So yeah, Force India, kind of meh, really. There's the middle team in Formula 1 for another year. Then you've got Toro Rosso, and there's a huge leap down in points here. Like, Force India's got 155 points, I think Toro Rosso had like 30. And John-Eric Verne scored 22 of those. Like, I know a lot of people were hyping over the Nil Kvyat. I don't quite see it myself yet. Like, I like Daniil. I think he's above average given the car he was in as well. But, like, people need to chill on Kvyat. Like, I think people want him to be really great, and that's cool and all, because he's a likable young Russian fella. But at the same time, I don't think he was that great this year either. Like, I didn't see it myself, personally. He had a couple of really good qualifying performances, but in the middle of races, I don't think he was ever that great. Vern was, again, his usual very solid self. You know, did what he had to do, etc., etc. I've got Bianchi again. Come on, Jules. That's a good boy. But, yeah, like, dude, the thing with Toro Rosso is just, you know, they weren't very reliable. That came down, I think, to more to Renault's power unit issues all season long, and you know, Vern proved this year that he's. I still say it now. I think he's just as good as Daniel Ricciardo. He just wasn't given the opportunity, and Dr. Helmut Marko must really not like Vern, because if Vern and Ricciardo were very similar at their time together at Toro Rosso, but it was only 1 point between them in their Toro Rosso careers. Whoops. And if Ricciardo's kicking ass now at Red Bull, why not have another Ricciardo, you know, essentially, and, you know, double your odds and, you know, have two cars that are scoring really well again. I don't think, like, given the bad year that Vettel's had, not just in terms of Vettel's ability, but also the fact that, you know, Red Bull were quite stupid with some of their strategy calls and they weren't particularly reliable. If Vern could even get within 30 points of what Vettel did this year, then it's a good move. You've got your driver lineup set for the next 5 years. I didn't get why Vern missed out, unfortunately, and I think that's a bit of a bummer, really, because I think he deserved the Red Bull seat. While Kvyat, on the other hand, has been completely fast-tracked from the get-go. Like, Daniil's been in the right place at the right time, every time. I said it before in videos, but like a month and a half ago, or a year and a half ago, he was in GP3. Everyone was saying that Antonio Felix da Costa was going to get that Toro Rosso seat. Kvyat leapfrogged him, and then when Vettel's left Red Bull, he's been given the seat over Vern. It's amazing how these things turn out. One of the big shockers of the year, Kvyat, who's only 21 and has had one season in Formula 1, and 18 months ago was in GP3, is going to be driving for a headlining factory team next year. He's not Marc Marquez, for Christ's sake. Just gotta go maybe 4 or 5 laps longer on this set if I can. But yeah, like, Toro Rosso were meh, you know, they're a B team. Nobody really should care what a B team does because they serve a different purpose than to just be ultra competitive. But, you know, I'm not quite smelling the hype with Kvyat like a lot of people are. I know if you do, then that's totally fine, but I don't quite see it myself. It's a shame they've had to move on from Vern. I think Vern is more than good enough to be in Formula 1. I think his Formula E performance in Uruguay, where he walked into the team with no prior experience, came in, got pole position, and, you know, very nearly won that Grand Prix. Just shows you just how much class that man's got, and not just in Formula 1, but in just as a motorsport driver in general. You know, so that's unfortunate. Lotus, God, Lotus were terrible. Like, it's like Williams and Lotus swapped places this year. It's really weird how that one turned out. One British team on the way up, another one thoroughly back down. Like, Lotus had a fundamentally flawed car right from the get-go. I know they lost James Allison to Ferrari, in terms of, you know, in terms of their technical department, but, you know, the asymmetrical tusks didn't work. The Renault engines obviously were terrible, which didn't help, and the car just looked undrivable most of the time, you know? They looked like every time there was an onboard of Grosjean and Grosjean and Maldonado driving the car. It looked like the car was you know, they had understeer, oversteer, every kind of steer. It just looked like it was an almost undrivable car. Let's that Polkenberg again. Okay, now definitely in the range to stop again. Is that Ricciardo up there in third? That'd be crazy if that's the case. You know, if anything, I'm glad that Lotus are keeping both their drivers for next year in Grosjean and, you know, Pastor Maldonado, because, like, the jokes with Pastor are getting very old very fast. And you're like, you know, I think Pastor's crashing has kind of slowed down this year in the middle of races. I know he still has a couple of crashes in practice, but everybody does, to be honest with you, so... Like, everyone makes mistakes in practice, because that's what practice is for, you know? I think Pastor's much improved his racecraft in the last couple of years. I don't think he makes anywhere near as many mistakes or moments of bad driving, and, you know, with the car that's been that bad this year, quite frankly, they both drivers kind of deserve a pass, no matter what happens, really, because Grosjean deserves better. Like, last year in 2013, he was incredible the second half of the year. Very, very impressive. And showed that when Lotus had a decent car, he's a guy that can go out and challenge for wins. He did that in America, he did that in Japan. In Japan, he came very close to winning that race. Red Bull basically pulled the pincer movement and sacrificed Webber to make sure that Vettel beat Grosjean for the win, while Webber had to settle for third, but or set second and third behind the battling Gro, basically. And he was, he was the best scorer in the second half of the season, like the last maybe 6 or 7 races. He was excellent. Looked like he's shown some real form. So, it's proof that, if you give Grosjean the right tools, he can do something with them. But that's the unfortunate reality of Formula 1, and Lotus, and, I know the Mercs, having a Mercs power unit will definitely help next year. But, on the whole, I think the car's chassis and aerodynamics are just badly flawed. Just skim past Ericsson again. So yeah, Lotus were pretty terrible. Then you've got Marussia. Oh, sad face. Got my car cut out there. Yeah, Marussia were great this year, and Marussia couldn't do any more if they tried. Quite frankly, they never had the funds to truly compete. They were living hand to mouth since Belgium. They had, like I've said it before on video. You can check it out, the Goodbye Marussia video, where essentially, we're all saying goodbye to them, and I mentioned how just what a great unit Marussia really was, and having to deal with so much tragedy at the same time while being an incredibly competitive team, and scoring points, which one of the true highlights of the season for me, and a team that came up from nothing to be able to score points in 5 seasons is remarkable. And like I said before, Marussia can be incredibly proud of what they did. Max Chilton definitely improved this year. He had some good finishes to start the year. He wasn't quite so strong in the second half of the year, but at the start he was excellent, and he was actually out racing Jules on a couple of occasions. And obviously the lack of losing Jules has been the saddest part of this season. After Japan is a race I'm never going to forget now, for all the wrong reasons, and how nobody celebrated. There was a very somber podium, and I use this in inverted commas, celebration after that race, and they weren't celebrating because they knew that Jules was badly hurt and on his way to hospital, and nobody really quite knew what was going on, and they weren't replaying the accident, and yeah, it was a very confusing time, and I had to shut up a lot of Sebastian Vettel fans that were too busy grandstanding because of the red flag. He got bumped back up to third again, which was some bullshit, and you know, it was a very dark day, and you know, Forza Jules, we miss you, man, and you know, keep fighting, Jules. We're all behind you. We all know that. You don't need me to repeat that. You know, I might be doing something I might be doing something charitable for, you know, I think it's called the Henry Surtees Foundation. You know, you don't know who they are. They're a charitable organisation who deal with head injuries and head trauma in motorsports after, you know, Henry very tragically passed away. I think he took a blow to the head from a broken car when he was racing, and he lost his life. And you know, the foundation was set up to investigate head injuries in motorsport. And you know, I know people went a bit crazy with the whole Dress Red for Jules campaign. Personally, I think it was a little bit self-gratifying, in my opinion, and that, you know, it's a little bit, you know, in a sense of, you know, let's basically pat ourselves on the back for wearing red and thinking of Jules. Well, I like to think that doing something like this, we're giving a bit of money to, you know, to the Henry Surtees Foundation, and doing something that actually is trying to get to the root of the problem, I think is a bit more beneficial and a little bit more helpful in the long run. No disrespect to Grace Wilkinson, who came up with the idea, and you know, it was a great idea. Don't get me wrong, and I know people like to do tributes in their own ways, and no disrespect intended to that campaign, but I think that was something that would be a little bit more beneficial. Anyway, wrapping it up, we got Sauber, and God, Sauber are trash. Like I said it before, Esteban Gutierrez is like the equivalent of celery in Formula 1 to me. Where, like, with him, it just kind of felt like, whoa, bit of understeer there, whoa, very slidey. We're getting close to pitting in now. We've gone 14 laps longer than we were meant to on this set. But yeah, overall, like, Gutierrez says, like, it's like I call him the F1 version of celery, because it just kind of feels like he's there to make up the numbers. Doesn't really do anything. Like, he's not particularly bad, but he's not particularly great in anything, really. If you come in. There we go. Last pit stop. 18 laps to go. See if we can finish strong here. Maybe get into the 110s at the end. But yeah, Sauber were dreadful this year, and I feel bad for Sauber in the sense of, like, in my humble opinion, like, Manisha Keltenborn's one of the best principals in the sport. Speaks her mind, often comes out of a lot of sense, and, you know, I think she's done pretty well with driver hires over the years and managing a team that tends to only do well when it's got another big factory behind it, like BMW Sauber, or, you know, whoa. Or when they were basically Mercedes' old factory team when it back in the Petronas days, when it had like Felipe Massa and Kimi Räikkönen going through that team and whatnot. So, you know, it kind of felt like, you know, they had to manage through all of that, and I think she's done a very good job of handling that team and trying to find ways to make it survive, because Sauber have struggled for a long time, like ever since they lost that factory back in. And this was their worst ever season in Formula 1. They've never finished 10th in the Constructors before, you know, just without scoring a single point. That's just dreadful. And, you know, a team like that deserves better, and Adrian Sittel did his best, but on the whole, it was just a very, very poor season for them. You know, and I wish him well. I genuinely do. Like, it's a good team next year, I think. I think Felipe Nazar is a talented dude. He comes with good sponsorship, which always helps. So, you know, it's one of those things where you kind of hope that, you know, they get better next year, because I like the Sauber lot a lot, and I think if any team is now vulnerable in Formula 1, I think they're the next ones after Caterham and Marussia. I think they're next, so if that happens, then God, you don't want the field to go down to like friggin' what, 18 cars? That'd be dreadful. God, 110.7, holy shit. We're lapping Rosberg. Wow. Lapped our own teammate. Only Vettel left now if he pits again. But yeah, and Caterham were just terrible this year. And you know, I like Tony Fernandez again, another guy I quite like, and just what a mess his team ended up becoming. Administrators, accountants, Alice Powell trying to drive for them, and having a crowdfunding campaign to try and get them into Formula One and trying to get them to Abu Dhabi, and just whoa, Felipe, just trying to survive by essentially any means necessary. It's just a sad state of affairs. For once, I agree with Bernie when he says we shouldn't be having teams begging to get into Formula One. And as much as the old bastard is a bit senile, in my opinion, he's got a point. Like, it's not a good look for anybody if teams are begging to get in. Don't get me wrong. Like, Formula One needs the lower field teams to survive. If we don't have independent backmarker teams in F1, then the factories start pulling out. And I've mentioned this before. That could be the worst thing to ever happen to F1. If the factories are gone, then no one's going to be involved. And the sport just slowly dies. And nobody wants that. And, free car teams is a terrible fucking idea and should never exist. Like, I don't know why these things ever have to be a thing. Said that for a long time. But, Caterham was kind of the microcosm for that, really. There was like, selling the team to Christian Albers and, Colin Coles and, Haas coming in. And it just seems like all things have been a little bit of a mess, really. And, it makes for good headlines and, the political drama makes it fun sometimes. But, on the whole, it's not good for the sport, And I hope Haas does come in, and I hope Haas is competitive next year. It would be nice to have a bit of American in Formula One again, because I like America. I like the American culture. And Conor Daly deserves the Formula One seat, in my opinion, but that's a discussion for another day. But it's been a fun season all in, to be honest with you. I know people have liked to moan about things like the noise and whatnot. I never was really bothered by that. It's the hybrids, turbos. What were you expecting? But at the same time, the sport's moving forward with technology, and that's always a good thing. And the action on track's been surprisingly great. I think we had 3 classics this year. Bahrain, Canada, and Hungary were all fantastic races this year. They were better than they had really any right being. So they were all great, and I'm very glad we had moments like that in the sport. And, it's a shame that, that it wasn't a closer year in terms of competition, but that's Formula One sometimes, It's a sport of dominance, and sometimes teams dominate. I'm getting deja vu of lapping Gutierrez. But, props to Hamilton again. Great season. Props to Danny Rick for being so impressive. That Honey Badger can drive. Props to Nico for being a very worthy teammate and a worthy adversary, despite the soap opera that Sky made it more often than not. Something you see on Emmerdale. Like, the only thing you would miss would be like an explosion in Abu Dhabi on the last race. To make it a proper Emmerdale or Coronation Street style storyline or some shit like that. But, you know, I'm going to miss F1, I always do. And what the hell am I going to be doing video-wise between now and the start of next season? Holy shit. Like, testing isn't for another 2 months yet. Like, I think it's something like 49 days till testing starts again, so 7 weeks, essentially. What am I going to do till then? I don't know, man. I'll have to wait and see, maybe more MotoGP, but it's like, the annoying thing about these kind of videos is that I talk a lot about real life stuff in these vids, like in terms of Formula 1 and MotoGP, and now I'm going to have nothing to talk about in these races, so my videos are probably going to be a little bit more boring as a result of that, and not going to be as captivating commentary-wise, which is really annoying, but, you know, kind of make the best of it, I suppose. Oh, I also want to say as well, a bit of news coming in as well, that, for what it's worth, you may not notice this, but I am currently on FizzyFan91's channel. I'm the new colour commentator for the AOR brand new iRacing series, which I'm very, very proud to be a part of. Me and Justin, you may know from Box Gaming, as a Fake Ghost Pirate. One of the true nice guys of Twitter, very smart, intelligent, funny American dude, and a great commentator in his own right, and I am, you know, I'm going to be a colour commentator on that series. Episode 1 is now, the race at Laguna Seca is up now on FizzyFan and the Krecken's channel. Subscribe to the Krecken if you haven't already, one of the nicest guys in this community as well. A truly, truly nice kid, and, you know, very intelligent as well. You know, I listen to him a lot. He's a great guy. Yeah, every video from that series will be on Krecken's channel, if you want to follow the series. I think only every other race will be on Fizzy's channel, from what I've been told, so, you know, Krecken deserves the credit, because he's producing the videos. Fizzy's kind of like the organizer, running guy, along with Kerry, you may know as KPT92, I think, on YouTube. And, you know, I'm just a commentator guy, but, you know, that would be great as well. The Racing Game Chronicles will definitely be featured more strongly in 2015. I was really happy with how that series turned out, and you guys seem to really like it. You know, you seem to like the nostalgic trip a little bit when it comes to these videos, so... God, Sean fucking again? Oh my god. Pardon me. Again, but, you know, I want to feature more games on that. I can tell you right now, Episode 5 will be Blur. In the next week or so. I'm looking forward to making that. One of my favourite racing games of the 2010 arcade racing games. You know, I want to kind of feature that little head-to-head battle, because for those guys that don't know, at the time, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that Blur and Split Second came out the same day, back in 2010, and they kind of went head-to-head, which was, you know, very fun. And, you know, I bought Blur instead of Split Second, and it was probably the right decision, because I think Blur was a better game than Split Second, but that's just me. We'll cover that more in-depthly next time. As we come towards the end of this race now, I've got, just under, 9 laps to go? So about 10 minutes, 10.5 minutes of driving left, and I haven't really got much more to say, to be honest with you. You know, for those guys that have been asking me about FIFA and whatnot, and where's that gone, it's on Twitch now, believe it or not. I'm streaming on my brother's PS4 on Twitch every now and again. It's a really fun stream. I highly recommend you all check it out if you get a chance. I post it up on Facebook and Twitter. Follow me on those links if you want to get up to date with the really cool info. It's very fun. But yeah, you know, overall, it's been fun 2014. It really has, and it's just a shame it's been for fun, but outside of my actual videos, really. And you know, hopefully there'll be more to come next year. You know, I'm really looking forward to what next year brings. This has been a really fun race, actually, in terms of just... Mercedes is just an amazing freaking car in this game. It really is, and you know, I haven't used a single flashback. It's been really straightforward. Car feels great. Just awesome, really. What can I say? I've been talking now, I'm guessing for well over an hour 10 at this point. I don't know exactly how long my PVR has been going on for here, and how long the sound file is. I've not been keeping track because my laptop screen is broken. So I'm using my TV as a giant laptop monitor, and I've been doing so for the last 3 months. Still works perfectly fine for me. It's a little bit inconvenient. You can't put my laptop on bed to play Foot Manager anymore, but, you know. Ah, well. 2015. It's going to be a fun year, I think. Honestly, I have no idea what it's going to bring for me. I really don't. Like, 2014 was a year where I think I really grew as a person and as a media maker, and, you know, I finished uni in June, and I have no idea what's going to happen after that, and, you know, it's a very exciting time for me. You know, I've got less distractions on me. I've not got the emotions of being tied down to a girlfriend, and, you know, I am looking. Ladies, call me. You know, and we'll see what happens, you know. I don't know what's going to happen to me next year at the start of the year, because I don't know how busy I'm going to be in terms of workload and whatnot, but I'm excited. Like, if 2014 was this great, 2015, I'm going to naturally feel good about it, you know? I just hope I can... Honestly, one of my goals was to work with more people. Like, I've already done that with the podcast, and, you know... I didn't even mention Bike Live on Downforce UK radio as well. That was a great success for me this year as well. You know, like Jake Sanson and Scott Woodwis kind of scouted me out basically, and thought I'd be a good fit for their organisation. And the next thing you know, I'm hosting a biking radio show, the only one of its kind really on iTunes. And you know, we on there, you can listen to me, and it's like, Mummy, I've made it. Of course, my mum's response is always, "How much are you getting paid?" "Nothing! Hooray!" Because for Mum, it's all about the money. And living in London, I can kind of see why, because it's so fucking expensive. But, you know. Very proud of that show as well. Putting 2 laps on Raikkonen. Even touched there. My bad, Kimmy. You know, that was a great... I mean, massive thank you to Jake Sanson and Scott Woodwis, who scouted me out, and, you know, my co-hosts on that show, Lewis Sotheby and Rebecca James, 2 lovely... you know, Lewis is a really smart, likeable dude, and Rebecca is a total sweetheart. She brings the sass and the Speedway love, because, you know, someone's got to like Speedway out there, I suppose. But, you know, another fun feather to add to the cap. Like, I can say I can make videos, I can make my own podcast, produce my own show. I've been on other people's shows as a podcaster. I can write for print journalism quite well. I'm not exactly writing feature pieces out there, but, you know, I think I can produce good pieces of writing as well. And all that has really been this year, so to speak. You know, not really, you know, done that in massive detail until now. And, you know, being well-rounded, I think, is pretty cool. You know, hopefully it gets me a job next year somewhere I can actually get paid, you know, and not have to lean on YouTube and my other part-time job opening boxes in a fucking Matalan, you know, to make ends meet, so to speak. So, you know, don't get me wrong, no respect to my current job, it's just, you know, working 4 hours a week and getting paid maybe £100 a month. You know, I don't make very much money off of YouTube at all. I know people don't talk about how much money they make, but let's put it to you this way, I wouldn't be able to, like, my machinima fees or my machinima paycheck every month wouldn't even cover my bus fare getting to uni in the course of a month. So what does that tell you about how much I'm making? It's not a lot. Let's put it this way, the first digit is a 1, and it's only 2 digits. It's not a lot of money. So, you know, I've said it before, I'm not in YouTube for the money. I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy the people. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy, you know, the community that know me well and whatnot. And, you know, it's a great job. I won't even call it a job. It's a hobby to me because I still find it fun, and I never looked at it like a job. I look at it as something I enjoy and just build in my portfolio, because this shit looks really cool on a CV. You'd be surprised. Like, I can say I've built up a 1.2 million view channel from scratch, with over 5,000 subscribers, and you know, it's nowhere near enough. I'm not a Ben who can think about doing YouTube full time once his uni degree's finished, because I know I think he's in his last year as well, and I think that you know, he's got just about 60,000 subscribers, and he'll be thinking about that, I'm sure, because he's making very good money. I'm sure of it. I know he's not KSI or anything, but you know. Still, you know, I'm not going to be like that. I don't think I ever will be that kind of size. But as long as you guys keep enjoying what I put out, then, you know, I'll keep doing it, you know. I haven't really got a reason to stop. And, you know, I've thought about it this year, I really have, but I enjoy this too much, you know. I enjoy putting myself out there, I always have. Oh, just 2 and a bit laps to go now. That was a good lap, that. 110.8. I'm a minute and a half ahead of Rosberg. Jesus Christ. What have I been doing for the last 70 laps besides talking and rambling about random gibberish? So yeah, for the last minute and a half, I might as well close off by basically saying thank you, guys. Thanks for everything this year. It's been a true pleasure to be able to put out so much content. We're coming up on 500 videos now as well. I've got to do something special for that too. 500 videos. It's quite the achievement. I might have to put together a best of montage or something like that. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, just thank you all so much for a fantastic 2014, and you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again till the cows come home. You guys make this happen, and you guys mean so much to me. You're the best fans in the world, and you know, I'll just start the final lap. I'm getting emotional just talking about this. You know, you've carried me more often than not, sometimes during some of my really dark days, and doing this makes me so happy. And honestly, I was feeling out of love and out of passion for making videos, and I thought I was losing some of that, and I did this video, and I thought about it, and I realised, dude, I've been seriously fucking lucky this year to even be in this position, and, you know, to have so many people be out there who like what I do and care about what I do, and you know, whoa, a bit wide there, but who cares? You know, who like and care about what I do, and just, you know, want the best for me, and they care, and, you know, they're all wonderful, wonderful folks, all of you. And if you're taking the time out of your day to watch this, you know, this pokey 22-year-old video maker, writer, and podcaster from London, then I salute you, because you guys are better people than me. Here we go. Final corner. There we go. Finished. Wow. Oh my god. Jesus. We did it. We did it. And we lapped the entire field in the process. We actually put 2 laps on everybody up to Magnussen. Holy crap. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. Rosberg second, Ricciardo third, Vettel fourth, Alonso, Magnussen, Raikkonen, Bottas, Perez, Massa rounding off the points in 10th. All 22 cars. We lapped Ericsson and Chilton 5 times. Holy crap. And now the replay. No, I'm joking. But, yeah. One more time. Thanks again, guys. They're all brilliant. And a happy new year. And I wish all of you a wonderful, a safe, a healthy, and a happy 2015. And all the best, I really do. And hopefully we can have another year of great Harrison-based content. Again, like I said, one more time, Happy New Year. Thank you very, very much for watching. And, yeah, catch you guys next time. Sayonara.